Hey everyone, Rosa here. Welcome to the Rise Mind Body podcast. And today, our guest, James McNeil. James McNeil is a best-selling author, communications expert, and world-renowned speaker, due largely to his remarkable ability to engage authentically and powerfully impact any audience with his clear, compelling message and call to action. Over the past 25 years, James has entertained and enrolled over 2,000 audiences around the world to embrace their best possible lives. From the biggest motivational seminar stages in the world, with thousands of participants, to multi-day experiential training programs for 20 to 500 participants, Fortune 500 boardrooms, global webinars, radio and television, James has proven his authentic engagement and compelling messages to be irresistible. Wow, James, welcome.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, when you were saying all that, I was like, I can't wait to hear me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me more about, tell me a bit more. I know we said a lot, but just share, like, what is it that you really do?
Sure. Well, I've been one of those guys who just adapts to my environment. I mean, when I started as a speaker, I had no justification, no qualification, no college, university, I had no credibility. There was no reason for anyone to want to listen to me. I basically did a little stand-up comedy, felt confident on stage, and then said, hey, people do this professionally. Let me try. And when someone would ask me if I could do a speech on a topic, like, say, stress management, I'd say, what's the budget? And if the budget was good, I'd say, yes, I do stress management. I'd go, to the library, read a book, and I would teach it. So I basically just did whatever I can get paid for. But over time, I realized I'm really a communications guy. I just really love the idea of enabling people and organizations to have more calm, more genuineness, but also more power. So how to not only handle those difficult conversations without freaking, but also to bring difficult conversations without causing people to freak. So the mastery of communication became a fixation for me. And I think it's just because when I was young, I couldn't communicate. I couldn't do it at all. I couldn't read till I was 21. I couldn't make a friend to save my life. And so becoming engaged in communications and in reading and writing actually was my own therapy. It just turned out I could help others.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what you just said is that, basically everything that you're doing right now that you're so great at came from everything that you suffered from.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
You want to hear more about what I suffered from?
If you think about it, there's so many things that some people right now are even suffering, and so many people are suffering, not recognizing. It's one thing I always teach my students is, your very purpose and the thing that you are meant to do is the thing that you're struggling with. You're in training, and it's a mastering process. So, having you, just articulate that helped me to understand that you've hit the point of mastery and the embracing of your gifts. So just tell me more about the struggling part and then how that evolved too.
So I'm the youngest of four, and my family wasn't we didn't have the perfect story, but I struggled with trying to get any attention, trying to get anyone to notice me. And so I just was really frustrated as a child that no one paid attention to me. I wasn't interesting enough, so I learned to be funny, or I learned to whine, anything to get attention. Then I couldn't make a friend to save my life at school. Like, everyone else they could just come into school, and within 2 days, they were friends with everyone. Everyone loved them. Oh, did you meet the new guy? I'm like, screw them. Yuck on the new guy. Because I thought, I've been working this audience for a while. I can't make a friend to save my life. So it was just born out of pain. I didn't intend to learn anything that I was learning for the purposes of serving others. I was just trying to get through my journey. And then I just kind of learned past the target, just like they train fighters to punch past the target. I learned past the target, and turned out that because of my challenges, I had a unique sensitivity to those who might struggle, that other people who just went on an academic journey didn't know how to meet them where they started. So I just started at a low enough point that I could meet someone where they're at. And it seems what helped me.
Yeah, totally. And so now what do you do?
Wow. Now, I just launched the most exciting thing in my life. My claim to fame has been something called verbal Aikido, which is, Aikido is the Japanese non-adversarial martial art, and it's called the powerful path to peace. And so it's, no matter what you throw at me, I can turn it into something that's a blessing for both of us. So if you said, James, you're a jerk, I'd like to be enough in my zone, right, to be zen-y enough to say, well, I'm sad to hear you say that, not up yours, drop dead, you're bad, I'm good.
Yep.
But rather to say, I'm sad to hear you say that. I must have offended you. Would you be kind enough to tell me what I did so I can apologize? And just to say, you've given me something to work with. And so no matter what it is, I want to take it seriously, but not personally. So that was my claim to fame. Now, I finally, after 30 years of writing, I'm not kidding, 30 years of writing. I know I look like I'm 32, but why is everyone laughing? Anyway, so I for 30 years, I've been working on something that I've just launched. And it's called the Dream Life Retreat, wherein I help people. I think I might call it the Limitless Retreat, because it's tapping into every possible potentiality. It taps into our greatest and highest self. So that's my greatest thrill. And it starts with finding that peace, that calm, reconnecting to source, reconnecting to self, reconnecting to all living things. And from that power source, we're limitless. And so my dream life is now the peaceful path to power. And then people can come to Verbal Aikido to learn the powerful path to peace. So peaceful path to power, connect and infuse and totally set yourself on fire in a positive way. And then how to handle a world that hasn't gone through that and how to help them move forward in a beautiful way. So finally, I've pulled some things together that my dreams are coming true fast.
And that's awesome, because I've spoken to a lot of people who have gone to Dream Life and heard some crazy, amazing things in Mexico. And just a great way to bring a lot of, people who are like-minded, looking for the same thing. I just heard it was a beautiful experience. So that's awesome. If anybody's interested, when are you going to be holding another one soon, or when is that one?
The next one is in May. And can I give a location where people can learn more?
Yeah, totally. And you know what? We can actually cover the details in the end before we end it. But I really want to know more about you, and so it's. You said something. It was a pain to something. What did you say? But it really got my attention. But you just connected. You said a few things about connecting just your pain and what you've been through in life, and ultimately, it's actually the thing that's helped you to live your dream and to achieve what it is that that you have always wanted to achieve. Well, and so, what is something that you would what would you tell someone right now who is maybe in that position right now?
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. So I would say to anyone who's
because if you don't mind me if I interrupt, I'm sure when you're in that moment, you did not have clarity of where you are right now. Right. You probably couldn't even. You're just surviving, right? So what would you say to someone who's in that?
So what I would want to say is, first of all, you know more than you know. You think more than you think. You are perfectly loved. You're perfectly designed for your purpose. Your purpose is perfect for you. There's a dream life designed for you that's just waiting for your readiness. And so everything's on track. You're not behind schedule. Your life is on its perfect trajectory, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel. But perhaps you need to learn some lessons to bless the planet that can only be learned in fire. And so I just believe that we're not victims. We are actually on a journey. And if we can see the way through to how is this going to be a blessing to someone, then it will be a blessing to someone. If you look at Maxwell Maltz, no, actually, and I wasn't thinking about Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. While being tortured in a Nazi death camp, he said, this will be the ultimate laboratory for life transformation, and I will survive this, and I will survive this with insights that no one else can ever find, because who else is going to put themselves through what I'm going through? And so I'm learning things at a level no one else ever will or would ever want to, and I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity. Because he saw past his circumstance to the blessing, he was able to make it through, where many others didn't survive the torture, but he did because he saw why he was going through it.
You know, I was just having a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and just talking about that is that, ultimately is how, it's the same kind of conversation. How do you, share with someone an idea of how to get through a situation that they're in? And you gave the same answer. And ultimately it's about having that knowing of where it's going. And so in the midst of it all, are we capable of being self-aware to recognize that we're getting in a state of fear? And can we step aside and actually look ahead and see where it's going, see the blessing, and connect to that faith in where it's headed to?
Sure. Well, I would say to someone, if you can't, that's fine. You're not supposed to at this moment.
Yes.
But to assume that answer is there and it will be found when the timing is right. I mean, that I lost my wife 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And when my wife, 30 years old, in perfect health, we're talking about having kids. We were married 1 year and 2 weeks, and she was perfectly healthy and died within seconds of a severe brain aneurysm. Well, that ended me. And if you tried to cheer me up, I would have had a violent response to that. I don't want to be cheered up. I'm in the middle of something. And so sometimes we're at a stage where we're not ready for a positive vision.
Absolutely.
But we can hope to hope. We can expect that hope will come. We can expect a vision, a reason, a purpose, something. And so all I could say at first was, all I know is God is still God and I'm still not. That's all I had. God is still God and I'm still not. And so I haven't got anything else. I've got nothing for nobody. That was the phrase I kept saying. I got nothing for nobody because I'm a servant spirit, and I had nothing for nobody. But I was surrounded by people who loved me. And I think right now, for me, if someone was saying, I don't have a vision, I don't have hope, I say, that is, and I love you. And if I'm present, and if they can see in my eyes hope for their future, they might not be able to feel it, but they can see it somehow.
There's that sense of safety and that trust, absolutely. And that's the thing, is before we even try to move forward and to fix anything, it's really just about being able to appreciate and respect the process, because there is a process where we need to grieve and we need to be in that state of emotion, and we've come to misunderstand that now emotion means that we're victim and we're negative, right? So definitely, you know, once a person's been in that state, in the emotion of react to something for so long, I guess at some point it does get to a point, and in that point is when they're most vulnerable. They need to feel like they're supported and they're loved and trust. But at some point, eventually, it gets to the, you know, where we need to connect to a knowing. We need to say, you know what, I know. I know this is going somewhere. I may not have visually a clarity, but I know in my heart that it's going to be okay. And it's kind of like that first step is just to think in that in that plane kind of thing. So
and there are steps and stages to everyone's journey. I remember when one of my big breakthroughs was when a coach, I had a personal coach I'm not working with at the moment. She's moved on. She's doing really cool things globally. But I had just made more money in one day than I'd ever made. And I've done, you know, I've had blessings. And it was one of those days where I was supposed to be euphoric, and I was miserable. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And I was battling with the grieving process. And she says, okay, so are you happy? And I said, well, no. She says, that's clear. She says, second, do you believe you can be happy? And I said, I don't know. Who cares? And she says, oh, perhaps that was the wrong question. Do you want to be happy? And I said, no. I have no interest. Happiness is a fool's game. I'm not going to fall into it again. I was happy, and look at me now. And so I realized that I wasn't ready to even consider the possibility of happiness. And so she said, do you want to be happy? And I said, no. And so, but only with her help, I was able to see where I was at that moment.
Absolutely.
And from there, I could now face down the next step, the next phase, the next breakthrough. And so being able to be conscious through those journeys gives me more insight. And whoever's currently in a difficult time, I would say to them, to you, if you're listening, your journey is perfect and you're being prepared for a high calling. And so thank you, and hang in there, and you're loved, and nothing's wrong. You're perfect, and it's happening. So sometimes we don't have that vision, that strength, or that confidence, or even the desire. But that's where we are at the moment.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you. That's a whole other level of faith that I wish for this world.
You and I both.
You know, if you could just like imagine every single person, you know, was able to connect to that level of faith, even on the outside, if they're in the midst of that. But just that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that. I hope that helped a lot of people in many different phases that they're in. Cool. So then, you know, how did you transition from? So help us to understand like the breakthrough, how you came out of you know the death of your wife, this new life that you just finally started, that you can imagine, you know, where you're at in your mind and your heart. You're excited. It's a year in and you're about to start a family. It's just, help me to understand how you came out of that. Help me to experience that.
Viscerally,
the transformation.
Thank you. I wouldn't call it a moment, right?
Yes.
Like there's a million moments of decision where I chose to face down the idea that I'm not happy, and I don't want to be happy, and I don't want to be happy. And so that was just like the next one, the next one, the next one. And so it's been a little over 5 years of turning points where I made right decisions a lot of the times. I didn't always make right decisions, but a lot of the times. Someone said, some people, when they have something like that, they drink themselves to death. And I said, I would, but I get tummy aches. Yeah. I'm not tough enough. I wanted to, but I'm like, oh, I feel sick. So I just wasn't made for that path. And so I just tried to make as many right decisions as possible. And it's 5 years of enough right decisions that I'm here now to be able to reach into the deep well of resources of understanding to be able to be a blessing. But I wish I could say this was the moment, that was the day, that's the time, but it's about a million of them in the last 5+ years. And and one of the things I would say, forgive me for going a little bit long on the answer, is to allow. I allow myself to have meltdowns. I was back in Peru. My late wife was from Lima, Peru. I was back there with family on the anniversary of her passing recently, and I had a complete and total meltdown at her gravesite. And I thought, wow, 5 years. I didn't expect that. But I'm like, it's what is. Allow it, respect it, accept that's what's happening right now.
Awesome. And so, just this question just kind of came to me is, how would you relate self-love and the role it played in this process?
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you.
I know it's a great question.
You're
Why?
like
I didn't even
the
know
world's greatest interviewer.
I didn't even know I was going to ask that question, but it came to me, and it's something about, what is your thought on what self-love is and the idea of it, and how did it come into play in your journey? And did it contribute to any transformation based off decisions that you made and everything? So Sure. Self-love is an interesting concept for me because I struggle with that term. I've seen myself more as a survivor than a self-lover, which means I just believe my job is to stay in this skin, whether I want to or not because I'm all that in a bag of chips and I think, man, am I lucky to be me. Everyone wishes they were me. Not that kind of a position, but rather it's my job to stay here and it's my job to serve, But there is a certain amount of self-love or something that believes that I have the capacity to serve. There has to be some kind of positive self mindset that says I'm here to be a blessing. Otherwise, I'd be here as a victim. Absolutely.
Needing to be blessed.
And if remember what you said about when you were in a state of struggle, what was important that you had people around you that loved you. Yeah. And that came in the form of support and trust. Yeah. And so when you're going through struggle, if you choose to move forward and eventually, make choices that are going to get you in a better place, you're supporting yourself. So it's a form of love where you needed to give to yourself. That is a form of self-love. So you're actually, it's that support is key. Love in the form of support is key. Are you supporting yourself and supporting your best self?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's.
I think I love your question. I love the line of thought, and I would say the honest truth is I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I was a hockey player who would give his life for a goal, right? I would end up in the hospital almost every week. I'm a Canadian boy, and
actually,
listen, in Ontario here we have OHIP, the Ontario Health Insurance Plan. The emergency room nurses knew my OHIP number. It's like 42 digits, and they'd be wheeling me in. They're like, "Here he is again," and they'd type it in before I'd hit the desk. So I was like a. And you did this really for a goal customer.
Or to save a goal?
No. I had to put the puck in the net.
Awesome. Yeah. Did you at least get the puck in the net? Because if you're going to the hospital, thank God.
No,
all right.
Trust me.
Okay.
The puck went in the net.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, then I can appreciate the story.
So for me, it was I would leave it all on the field, if you use the football analogy. In the hockey, I'd leave it on the ice. I always gave myself over to whatever I was doing, and then I would just lick my wounds and recover and do it again. Yeah. So I wasn't about taking care of myself. I was taking care of the goal at hand and then recovering later. And I'm still learning to take better care of myself. Like I tend to give it all. I tend to serve my brains out. I tend to over deliver, and that's kind of the secret to success, if you want to put it that way. That's why I've been blessed in business. But I don't leave a lot for me. I keep on giving. I keep on contributing. I keep on serving. I keep pushing. And so self-love is something I'm happy to say I'm working on.
Awesome. And so when you said that's a success to business, do you believe that there's a way to be successful in business while having self-love as well?
Oh, absolutely. I would say it would be a far better success strategy.
Amazing. So that would just be an even deeper and further mastery.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
I'm planning on it. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Very cool. Awesome. So Yeah. So tell us about so at the Dream Life, it was 5 days, you said, Dream Life?
Yeah.
In Mexico? And so what does it consist of from day 1 to day 5? You can give us just a quick short
Sure.
Intro and, interest us in what it is that you do each day and what someone will get out of it. Going in, what kind of people would come in, what they're looking for when they come out, what are they getting out of it? And, and when is your next one?
Sure. So it's in May 2018, and you must be there. I will find
Make
a
sure
way.
I come.
Yeah, it's intolerable if you
awesome.
don't come.
Okay.
So everyone has their own journey. I don't choreograph. I don't force people's journey. So what impacts someone is their own. But day 1 in the morning, we start with reconnect to source. I start with telling people, look, just like a kettle that has a cable, you're a plug-in. If you're not plugged into source, you as a kettle can only do so much. You'll never experience your full purpose as long as you're unplugged. Now, a kettle can be used for a lot of things, but it can't live out its full purpose unless it's plugged in. So we start with how do we reconnect to source, which is something most people in my profession avoid because it sounds religious, it sounds whatever.
And so I'm wondering if it's worth, if we can sidetrack a little bit by source. How can you help? If you can elaborate a bit more on source.
Well, I think you and I actually do almost identical work from different directions. So I find you fascinating, and everyone else does too. And everyone listening going, I want more Rosa Maria, and I'm with you.
Thank you.
So I feel
the same.
What I do is, if you look at source, you can go with its chi, its ki, it's the universal energy, it's infinite intelligence, it's God, it is, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It is always, and then there's the transcendent concept of, so you can see energy within the universe, but then what about transcending the universe of time, space, and matter? And I'm saying all of that is what I'm talking about.
Totally.
And so you can call it God,
whatever
you can call
you
it this, you can call it that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can get along.
And I like to look at the kettle. I think it's an awesome analogy because I like to look at it as something that's greater than us, so that it gives us something to turn to that we can rely on and know that it's going to be there all the time to support us, to love us, to show us whatever it is. And it is an infinite source. That's the key. For me at least, is that it doesn't matter what you call it, but there is an infinite source of something that's good. That's really, really good. If we just acknowledge it. So, but awesome. So go on. That you find that that's the main thing, is being able to connect to that source.
Well, without that, if we're a plug-in and we're not plugged in, then
Yes.
So that's central. The second thing is what you do physiologically or kinesiologically, if that is a word. I do as far as emotionally and say physically. I would say forgiveness. So to release all of those knots, all of the forgiveness, and you and I both talk about forgiveness, to be able to forgive self, forgive this, drop it.
Yes.
So we reconnect the source, so the jets are reignited. Then we drop all the sandbags that are holding us down, all the anchors. Now we start building, and so that.
And that's the thing, is that the forgiveness, though, is that it's a choice. But some people are like, it's not like that. There's that aspect, that part of them that can't just drop it. It's happening at a whole other level that I know we can go deeper in. But I do know that if someone's going to get something out of this immediately, is to just at least stop and recognize what meaning are we placing to forgiveness that usually tends to hold us back. And usually forgiveness means we're justifying what another person did as okay, or if they've hurt us, or that they win and we lose. So we got to get out of that mindset first of defining forgiveness. Forgiveness means to free your heart. It's the logical thing to do so that your heart can be free of pain. And so when we can attach that meaning to that, it might be easier for someone just to accept. It's kind of like what you said, like trying to make someone happy when they're in a state they just need to be in it. To tell someone just drop and forgive it could like make someone punch you in the face, right? Yeah. But if you're saying forgive so you can be free already, like it's holding you back. It's about you. Maybe they still might want to punch me in the face.
I like the phrase, forgiving someone is not letting them out of prison, it's letting you out of prison.
Yes, absolutely.
They've already moved on. Yes. You're still there.
Absolutely.
You're the only one trapped. And so to forgive is to let yourself go instead of letting them go. Their innocence is not the point. I actually talk, when I do forgiveness work, I say, you've got to beef up their guilt. Don't say it was no big deal. It was a big deal. It was wrong, 100%. 100% wrong and
validate and
I
justify
forgive.
yourself.
Until it's truly guilt, it's not truly forgiveness. And so to diminish it is not the secret, but to say, here's the whole truth and I'm letting it go.
I like that. That's awesome. So awesome. So you helped connect with Source and work with forgiveness. It's amazing. That's like the greatest gift you can give someone. And they're doing it on a beach.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. And for sure they're doing karaoke.
Yeah. Has to happen. Has to happen.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. And it's happening in May. And so what would someone do to get into?
Sure.
They go on your website or?
Yep. The easiest thing is just go to tinyurl. That's TINYURL. tinyurl.com/dreamliferetreat. All one word.
Awesome.
tinyurl.com/dreamliferetreat. The information's there. I look forward to catching up. It's not a commitment, it's a conversation. Just say, I'm interested, and we'll talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. Thank you
honor.
for coming on the show.
You rock.
Awesome. You too.